Welcome to the Property Perspectives podcast with Jack Estates. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Alex.
And it's our first episode today. So we thought we'd use the podcast episode to go through who we are, how we know each other, our kind of journeys to date from a professional and property perspective, and then move on to what we offer as a company, and then wrap up, which is something that we'll be doing in future episodes, which will be a news article, a stat, a lesson that we've learned, or anything like that, any sort of tips. So in terms of us, so we're Jack Estates. We're a property investment and development company. We specialize in sourcing rundown properties that we want to add significant value to. We're working on growing our portfolio and working with investors to grow theirs as well. Really and truly, we just want to collaborate with as many people as we can, and grow our portfolio and grow portfolios of investors, and help do deals for investors as well.
I think more people we reach, the better. We can learn stuff, share our knowledge.
Exactly. And this podcast is we'll go into it in a minute in terms of how we know each other, but this podcast is for you to get to know us in terms of the people that we are. So then when we're working to anyone that wants to work with us in the future, you can see that we're humans behind the screen, not just people on social media. So how we know each other. So interestingly, we're both from Harrow.
It's a long old story, really, when you think about it.
Yeah. So
I don't even know how to sum that all up.
Well, we met in a mother and baby group, didn't we? So my mum and your...
My mum always sort of digs out of us all in. It's not even in playgroup. It's the one before.
Mother and toddler. Yeah. So
yeah.
Freddie and Archie. Oh, Freddie and Connor go to.
Yeah.
We lived in Harrow. Our mums, we didn't know much about it, but our mums met in a mother and baby group before nursery. Our mums got to know each other and were friends, and then we went to school together. Well, nursery. It was nursery, wasn't it?
Nursery.
Then moved on to school.
Then high school.
And then we didn't go to college. Didn't go to the same college.
No.
You moved into electrician course. I did an IT course.
But we always sort of kept in touch, and we were good pals through school. So as we left, naturally, we were all in the same friendship group. We always saw each other.
Yeah, and our friendship group is weird, really, isn't it? It's like there's 12 of us, like 12 in the core group.
Out of everyone I know, we're probably the only people that we've got 12 mates.
Yeah. That
pretty much all went in the same first school.
Yeah,
and
some
school,
same nursery.
And we're all in our 30s now.
Yeah.
Still
mucking around.
Good mates.
Yeah.
I mean, we're lucky, really.
It's unheard of.
With that friendship group.
Because when I talk to Hannah and that about it, she's like,
the same experience. She just thinks that's a bit strange.
Yeah.
We're probably all a bit strange, or I don't know.
Kind of makes sense, really. We just attract each other.
I think you just stick to what you know after a while, don't you?
Yeah.
Don't really like any of you, but I'm just stuck with you now.
Yeah. No other choice now.
Gone too far with it.
So next part, what we want to talk about is just introducing each other. So if you go first, then I'll talk about myself. So if you introduce yourself professionally, and your kind of how your career's gone today.
Yeah. So I mean, my name's Alex. Electrician by trade. So I've been in the electrical industry for coming up to 15 years now. Actually, quite a long time when you think about it like that.
You think about how time's flown, man.
It's funny because when I first got into the electrical industry, and then there was guys above me who were sort of my electricians, and I was their apprentice, and they're like, "Oh, I've got 10 years in the game, 15 years in the game."
You think, blimey,
bloody hell, mate, you're getting on a bit. And now I'm that guy, and now I've got all the apprentices and people working for me and under me, and
it's scary, isn't it?
It is crazy.
How
Definitely
quick
feeling. I mean, we're still young, but feeling the age a little bit. Like I've got an apprentice at the moment who's 18, and he's when he's talking about things, and I've mentioned stuff, and he said, "What is that? What it was like?" And it's funny because you get the shock. I was once like that, asking those. Yeah, but went off on one a little bit there. But yeah,
but it's true.
Started my electrical career in the domestic industry. So I started working for a guy who was just a one-man band.
When you say domestic, that's like residential.
Residential,
houses.
Yeah. So he was your standard one-man band, electrician, man in a van type guy that would go around, do smaller jobs, whatever, testing.
To houses,
addition, adding sockets. I need.
Sometimes
Sometimes we got some rewires. People were redoing the house, so it was full gut and stuff like that. I worked for him for 6 months. Funny enough, at the time, he was paying me £30 a day, I was traveling from
£30 a day
from London to,
as an apprentice though.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
yeah. I mean, I
so-
was 16, 17.
Yeah.
So I was traveling from London to Luton. I was spending about 20 quid a day to get to work. So I was making about a tenner at the end of it.
spending a tenner
But
on
at
lunch.
the time, it was just so hard for anyone to take me on. You know, I was screaming. No one wanted, because I didn't have any experience at my age. It was like no one really wanted to offer me anything.
And you were 16 at this time.
I think 16 or 17. It was when I started college. So
okay.
around that age. Got lucky because he was an electrician that serviced my mum's office.
Okay.
So when he was down doing some testing certificates or something one day, she sort of put in a little word and said, look, my son's in college. Would you be able to give him any work? And he said, yeah, I can offer him, I think it was 2-3 days
Pimping
a
your
week at the
services
time. Yeah. Obviously, it was in Luton, which wasn't ideal, but worked for him for 6 months. And I mean, it was one-to-one learning. I learned so much in that 6 months. After that, I just sort of got the confidence where I was like, when I was ringing those companies, I was over egging it a little bit. I was like, I've got 1 year experience or 2 years, but I was confident and I felt like I was pretty good for where I was at. So done that for 6 months. Then I started working for a new build electrical company. So they specialised in new build developments, so ground up projects, houses, flats. That was based around East London and Essex. So done a lot of high-end new build homes.
I remember that one of those. I remember you showing me one of the projects.
Yeah, some of them were really, really nice. That was slightly different because that was doing things from start to finish. And obviously that's come quite in handy with stuff we're doing now because it was residential projects. It's everything that we do now. Done that for a further 2 years at the same time gaining my qualification. So after that, I was almost close to being fully qualified because I was still studying at the same time, doing my level 3 and my MVQ.
Because it's different with electricians. That's what like your college course is one thing, and then there's like industry standard qualifications like that NIC thing.
Well, you got your standard 2-3 years at college. Then you got your NVQ, which is like a site-based qualification, which is you just sort of filling out almost. You have a portfolio and you have to go through it and just report back to an assessor. Then you've got something called the 18th edition, which is like your wiring regulations. So that's a one-off test that you have to sit, and that sort of gets updated regularly, and you have to keep up to date with it.
What's the other one? NI?
Well, then you got your 2391, which is your testing and inspection. So that's if you're qualified to be a tester. And then you got your NIC, EIC, which is that basically you're just part of a governing body,
right?
Which means you can issue certificates. So anyone like who's in property and gets landlord certs, they're normally NIC, EIC, or NAPIT, one of the two. But yeah, so from there, I was there I think for 2 or 3 years doing the high end developments. Then I sort of I can't remember actually what happened. I think naturally it came to an end, or they had some work, but it was a lot further out of London, and they said you can come. And I think I had a friend who was working at another company, and he got me in the door commercially. And that was my first time stepping into the commercial sector. And then I just sort of fell in love with the commercial sector from there.
I feel like since when you started that, it
once
was like
I got into that, I
really,
just went, I think for me it was a different avenue of learning. Residential, I kind of reached a limit, not where I knew absolutely everything, but once you know how to wire a house or a mansion, it gets more fancier, and there might be slightly different fittings and stuff like that, but it's still kind of the same. When you go in commercial industry, there's just like,
I guess the scale of it is just
scale's bigger,
different.
and there's so many different systems.
And I guess you're then tapping into like alarms, you're tapping into like CCTV,
everything.
There's so much more involved in it.
And there was just a lot more avenues to sort of go from you go testing wise, management wise, stuff like that. So carried on working in the commercial industry I'm still working in commercial industry now. So to date, over the last sort of 2-3 years, I started my own company where I'm doing a mixture of everything. So commercial work, residential, domestic work, and a lot of management and testing. So that's my to date experience, and I think it works hand in hand with property. Obviously, I think I've been around construction my whole life. My old man, he was a carpenter. I always helped him he was a carpenter but like builder, so I always helped him doing things growing up. Like my old room was like basically like a workshop before it was a room. It was like fucking
I remember that loft.
and it was like sawdust everywhere constantly. So sort of been around that my whole life. So
Yeah.
it's sort of, I think the whole switch
almost-
to property
almost had to happen.
was almost natural.
dead
Yeah,
cert,
it felt
yeah.
like I needed to get involved in that. It's something I've been around.
Yeah.
Bit different to your journey. I mean, but
Yeah,
but,
my property journey isn't like yours in terms of
Yeah.
like the background that you've had from your kind of your dad. But my journey as a project manager is an interesting one. So I went to college similar as you. I did an IT course and kind of qualified there, 2-year course. And whilst I was there, I worked in, this is completely unrelated to property, but I worked in a clothes shop, next to clothes shop.
yeah, I remember that.
I worked on the home department, so there's an element of a relation there.
Pretty sure I got a couple next suits out of you back in the
Probably
day.
I got a little discount.
Yeah, not sure they'll fit anymore, but they're
But,
somewhere.
yeah, I was working there, and then I also volunteered at my local hospital, Norfolk Park in Harrow, as an IT person, basically. Anything, any job that needed doing, I was just there, happy, eager to learn, happy to do it. I wasn't getting paid for it, but similar to you, I needed a way to get into a place to get some sort of experience. And I met a guy there, the old boss at that hospital, who gave me the opportunity to volunteer. And then, I just did everything and anything there just to get some experience.
Yeah.
Then a project came up, which was like an email migration project, which no one had the capacity internally to do because it was a lot of work to do. And he said, do you want to do it? And I said, yeah, definitely. And he put me on a thing called bank, which is like temporary work. So I was getting paid from it. So then I had the choice to either stay at Next and get paid kind of certain money because I was on a contract there, or kind of make the transition to just go straight into the NHS and kind of make temporary money, but it's still money.
Were you self-employed then, or was that a
No,
contract?
it was before. It was like
So
it's called bank. So it's temporary staffing. A lot of like nurses and that do it now.
So it's like PAYE almost. Is it?
Yeah, but it's like you basically fill in a timesheet at the end of each week and say these are the hours I've done,
Yeah.
and then they'll pay you. I think it's the next month for the
So
hours
it's
that you've
almost
done.
like being self-employed, but
But you don't have a contract, so it's a 0-hour
yeah,
contract
yeah.
basically. So I did that, and then I was managing people like who were like 40, and I was like 17, 18. And that was a bit of a learning curve, but that's definitely helped shape me in my career because I've always kind of managed people older than me and always kind of had quite a high pressure job, if you know what I mean, with like the sorts of things I've been doing. And that's helped me in the property game because dealing with investors' money, it's high pressure because you want to make sure you're doing a good job for them and you want to make sure you're looking after their money as well as possible.
A lot of moving parts.
Exactly, and obviously being
Nothing
a project
ever
manager
really goes to plan as well. So.
Right, exactly. So I worked there on a temporary basis, was managing people, managed the project, got it over the line, did a good job. They then offered me an interview for a permanent job, doing the same sort of thing. It was project support officer, I think it was. And interestingly, I met my missus at this point in my career because we both went for the job. She got the job and I didn't.
Cool.
But I didn't get
Bragging
the job.
rights there.
Yeah, I know.
How often does she bring that up?
To be fair,
Just every night
I've
over the
actually
dinner
managed to
table.
Get over that one, yeah.
Every Sunday.
Probably going to remind her now. But then the director there basically said, I don't want to lose you, so created another role for me, basically the same role, but a more technical role. So we both got the job, basically. And then worked there for a bit, worked my way up to a project manager there in the same hospital, and then moved to another hospital. And then an old colleague of mine contacted me, who actually introduced me into the property game. He's a legend. He basically said, there's a contract opportunity in this other hospital. Do you want to take the plunge, basically? And I was young. I had no real responsibilities other than I was living at home with my mum. I was obviously paying my mum rent, but there was no other real responsibilities other than that.
No contract in that
No.
sort of rental agreement, is
No,
it?
exactly. It's just, I'll pay you as much as I can, basically, when whatever I've got left. And then, took the plunge, went contracted and kind of had basic accountant, everything was basic at that point, but it was all, it was again another learning curve because as a contractor, you get looked at as someone who takes a problem away. And I was still young. As a contractor, I was 22, I think I was. So I was a young contractor, learning on the job still, but I'm a fast learner like you are as well. And
But we're both pretty practical learners. Learning on the job, you can almost do a lot of groundwork sometimes, but unless you're actually doing it, I mean, me personally, I need to be doing something. I need a little bit of obviously prep. I'm not just going to go in blind, but I need to be doing it to learn.
100%.
It's like anything I've ever done.
Yeah, you have to. And there's a lot of theory's one thing, but then practical work and getting it done is another, right? So yeah, started contract, and then I've just gone from organisation to organisation. A lot of experience in the NHS, quite a lot of experience in the private sector as well. I've done contracts at BT, lots of different software companies. So yeah, it's been an interesting kind of journey in the project management game, and in terms of the scale of projects, they've obviously got bigger and bigger as I've progressed.
How different are obviously you always explain to me the projects you're doing, and
they go over your head.
They go in one ear and out the other, and I get a bit of it. I think, wow, that sounds interesting,
and then you're like, what was you on about?
Because I know you've been dealing with all the blood sort of the technology. How different are the projects that you manage? Obviously, they're all been in like a health.
And lots of them have been in the health sector.
But how do you transition? Like, for instance, the one you've done recently, where it was the technology. Obviously, I'm going to explain it terribly, but like technology to do with like
blood banks,
people's blood and the banks.
Yeah.
And let's say one you've done before. How do you transition your skills in between?
Well,
that?
I think
or you just look at it as people
so
management?
I think as a project manager, it's you need to understand the product that you're delivering. So I work in a lot of my projects have been software projects. So you need to understand the product that you're delivering to an organization. But you don't need to be a specialist in that, because I'm not a blood bank specialist.
Yeah.
Far from it.
Yeah.
But you just need to understand what it is you're delivering, get some training on what it is you're delivering. Again, you've got product specialists, so that's their job. You just need to understand, set the project off, understand everyone's roles and responsibilities in the project, understand what each person's bringing to the table, define a plan with all of them, because if you're going new into an organization, you don't know how that product gets delivered because you've never done it before. You need to go to the people that understand the product, understand how you need to do stuff, work with them to kind of define a plan from beginning to end, and then obviously give your input from your experiences in other jobs. But define the plan, agree the plan, and then obviously if you're working with customers as well, kind of get that plan agreed with the customers, and then action it with just regular contact, regular communications,
chasing the fuck out of everyone.
Exactly, chasing everyone up, which you've seen me.
I've seen the emails.
It applies to Jack.
Whenever I think, we got to chase so and so, I look at the emails and you've already done it.
That's my job, though.
2 days ago.
Yeah, it's my job. It was funny yesterday. You were like, I suppose we better chase that thing, and I was like, I did that.
Yeah, did that last night, mate. I'll just shut up then.
No, but but that is the job. It's like I've got my day is always structured in terms of what I need to do when I need to do it. Regular contact points, and obviously
I've learned. Sorry to butt in. Learned quite a bit off you in that aspect. The way you structure your days and how things are organised. I've taken that into sort of my workspace. Really? I think just having, like, when you split things into half an hour, like doing tasks and stuff like that.
I live by that.
It is good. I think sometimes it's hard to stick to it.
Yeah, because 100%. Because it's a good one. I'll block my day out in half an hour slots basically, and sometimes there's 2 half-an-hour blocks for one thing because it's a bigger task, for example. But that is. If you're managing multiple clients as well, you need to know kind of, right, I need to dedicate an amount of time to this client today, so I need to make sure I'm doing this work for them. But if there's an issue that comes up,
sort of like something to go to, otherwise you're just kind of, I'll do a bit here, I'll do a bit there.
I don't know how people don't do that. Because it's like, for me, it's a necessity. I couldn't if I didn't have that. I plan my day every night for the next day, because if I don't, I'll just be like, I just need to check. I'll just be like, I need to chase everyone, and then I wouldn't know who I'm chasing when I'm chasing.
Just kind of like, your anxiety is just all over the place, and then you're thinking about everything, but then you're just unproductive.
Yeah, and then it goes to like plans and like documents and stuff, which obviously I've applied into Jack Estates with the spreadsheets and stuff that we collate. Like that purchase spreadsheet we done for the last project, it was like 1,000 different products on that one spreadsheet. We got it to the penny, didn't we? The renovation budget. But I just need, it just helps me track things, and it helps me know who I'm chasing, when I'm chasing them, and that
level of organisation.
Yeah, we went into a bit of a productivity hack task then, but in terms of that's my career. But I guess in terms of the property journey and how it started, so my first property project was 2019, which was Millbrook, it might have been 2020. It was when
I think it was 19. I think it was 19.
So I bought a standard buy-to-let. It was run down, and I had the local. It was in Devon, so I had local tradesmen doing the plumbing, painting and decorating. but obviously I needed the main man to do the electric, so I gave you a shout, and
basically just wanted to save a few quid. That's
exactly. Yeah, basically that was what it was. I ran out of budget on my spreadsheet. I was like, I'm a bit short of budget here, so I need. I
changed it to, I really want someone good, but in the back of your mind is I need to save a few quid here and get a mate
Not guilty. No, yeah. So I shouted you, and we, it was in Devon, so it was a 4 hour.
I joke, but I was more than happy to help because it was something that I was thinking about investing at the time, and it was like you were doing it. I was like, I need to get down there and just have a look at what's
going on,
do what I can.
So yeah, I've done that one up, and then you obviously were doing the electrics, and it was on the way home that we were talking about kind of deals because it was a 4 hour trip there, 4 hour trip back, so it was a long journey, and we've obviously lots to talk about on the way. And then you were obviously thinking about doing a deal with Show and that, weren't you?
A couple other mates. We were at the time looking in Stoke.
Yeah.
We were planning on getting a house and converting it into a student HMO.
Mm-hmm.
We had a couple offers accepted actually. We were close to getting a deal, and then I think life just happened, and
circumstances didn't permit.
Things change, and just didn't happen at that time. And I think on the back of giving you a hand with your development, and your whole goal was you were like, the moment I do this development and I get it revalued, I'm going to
go again.
I'm going to try pull some money out, and I'll be ready to go again. And I sort of said, well, look, I'm here. Let's do it together.
Yeah.
And it was as simple as that, really. And then
it wasn't quite there where we thought the name Jack Estates, but we knew, right, that's it. Like, we're not just going to do a deal together. This is like we're setting up a company together. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't. Well,
when I explained to you my whole thought process of why I wanted to get into property and how I wanted to do it, it was pretty similar to yours. It was like we wanted to go in, we wanted to keep recycling what we can, keep growing over time, keep as much money and profits in the company and just grow it. So we were on the same
mindset
page
and ethos
of things
in terms
like
of
that.
what we were trying to do.
I think it was quite easy. There wasn't much.
And it's
really
also
groundwork we had a couple things like at some point I might need to pull out a bit of money for.
But even then, we kind of agreed on that.
Yeah, kind of you might have needed a bit of money for a loft conversion or something like that. But little things like that. But nothing major really.
Nothing controversial, so to speak. And it's then we kind of we had the idea to do it, and then it was kind of thinking of names, wasn't it? And it's a funny one, the name of the company, isn't it? Because I think it's great, Jack Estates. But,
so do I.
But so just for anyone that doesn't understand it, it's Jack, Jack, J for Jordan, A for Alex, C for Cars, K for Kisalak. Yeah. But it is interesting because we share our email address. So whenever we're emailing people, I'll always sign off whatever, kind regards Jordan, and then whoever's replying will always be hello Jack. Yeah. It's not Jack, it's Jordan, but it's all good.
It does work all right.
But we do need to think about the logo and changing. Or incorporating.
I guess this is a good time to tell everyone we aren't an estate agent.
Yeah,
we're property investors, property developers.
Yeah.
So don't try to list any properties.
Because we've gone to a few networking events, haven't we?
Which I understand.
Is this an estate agency? Nah.
I think we probably have to put like Jack Estates Property Developers or something like that underneath. I think
because I don't want to lose the estates, but
it's got a nice ring to it. Rolls off the tongue well, doesn't it?
It does for us, but maybe we should.
Maybe we're just a bit
put a poll out there or something to
get
see
a little bit touchy when people say,
what's the estates about?
Great, what's the fuck off?
So we've spoken about the company. Spoken about.
There was a couple before setting up the company as well. It was a couple meets in your office, wasn't it?
That was where it all started.
That's where it all started.
My garden office.
In your old garden office.
You've done the electrics there as well?
I did do the electrics.
It's a bit of a trend, a theme to me and you to do electrics, isn't there, actually?
Couple meetings there. I think we sort of narrowed down at Devon at the time, didn't we? Because it was tried and tested, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, we did the deal there. It worked well, pulled out. I think I only left like 15k in Millbrook, which was good, and pulled you 40 odd out.
How much percent did you add to that? 50, 60%?
Yes. Well, I bought it for 130, but then they gave me $6,000 back because I negotiated with them.
What was that?
Can't remember was it? There's a clause where for the damp. And it was good, but it was good and bad because it was good because I got the 6k in cash back rather than. So basically, let me start it again. So I bought the house the offer was accepted at 130k. I got a quote for the damp repairs, which was I identified after the the offer is accepted, and that was £6,000. And I said to them, I'm still happy to buy the house, but I want £6,000 off it because I didn't factor that £6,000 into my renovations.
Yeah.
They obviously said no, and then I said, well, I don't want it then.
Yeah.
And then we got back and forth. They agreed, but what I didn't want was them to take £6,000 off
the actual asking.
Off the asking, because then I'm only saving that £6,000 off the mortgage, which is would have been
25%.
Yeah, but then it would, in terms of like what I'm actually saving,
Yeah.
it would have been like £20 a month or something like that on the interest only mortgage. So it was not actually worth it. So what I said was, I'll stick to the 130 buy, and then my solicitor found a clause where they basically had to give me £6,000 in cash back after the event.
Yeah.
Which meant I had £6,000 in cash after.
To do
Although
the
it was my
works.
own cash, it was my own. The only problem with that, I mean, it wasn't massive, but it meant that I was still paying the stamp duty on the 130 because that was the purchase price. So it was minimal.
Swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, but I would rather that than save the money on the mortgage, because this was at the stage where the mortgage, everyone was agreed. Do you know what I mean? So it was
But
all.
I guess doing the way that the alternative that you'd done, you had the £6,000 cash up front to then pay the works. Whereas if they knocked £6,000 off the asking,
I still needed to fund
it
the
was
£6,000.
only 20% of you would have saved, like less on your deposit. What's 25% of £6,000?
£1,500.
Yeah, so you'd save 1,500 quid.
But I still need the rest of it to fund the damp work.
So you'd have to bump that
yeah,
up 4.5 anyway.
Yeah, so then I think I spent, minus the £6,000, because the £6,000 I don't include in the renovation cost because that was covered by the previous owner. I spent £30,000 on Millbrook at 130 purchase price, and revalued at, I think it was like 185. So I did £25,000 of value just by doing it.
Yeah, nice.
I pulled the money out, and then we went into Orchard, didn't we?
Not a bad little first property.
For one where you're learning lessons on the
Yeah.
job, you're like meeting tradies in the area, first one in the area, and obviously that doesn't include the rental profits as well. Like the rent is a tidy rental profit. I've had one tenant in there, and then she left after a year, and then I've had the same tenant since then. So that's been a couple of years, 3 years. So they've been in there, and they're happy.
Good little investment, really.
Yeah.
Done well with that one.
Yeah, and they're looking after it. They've actually made it nicer. Like they've done some decking out the back.
Yeah.
And they've done the bedroom, and that looks nice. But then we moved on to Orchard, didn't we? Which was a good deal. Then let's talk about wrapping up. So this section of the podcast going forward, I think we're going to do like a news article in the current news, a tool, a book, a tip, a lesson,
anything relatable to what
property.
we're doing or what we think might be useful to someone else.
Yeah. So for this one, obviously we've introduced Jack Estate, so that was going to be our wrap up for this one, but we've done that at the beginning of this one. But let's talk about the base rate reduction that's happened. It's old news. It's fairly old news now, but it's still big news.
Big news, relatable as well. I think the base rate has been what's really controlling the market for a while.
Yeah, but it's gone from 4.75 to 4.5.
Yeah,
that was early last month, which is good for us.
Yeah,
good for everyone, really.
And I think it's own. I mean, I'm not an expert, but it looks like it's going to continue to come down because I know.
I think so.
Mortgage companies are offering lower that fixed for 5 years.
Yeah, because it's to do with the swap rates as well, isn't it?
They're not really going to offer you 4%, or I think some people are getting almost in the freeze now.
Well, I think what I've seen
4.1 something.
What I've seen is like the owner occupier mortgages, they're getting like 4s and just below the 4s.
Yeah.
Obviously for us, they're going to be a bit more than that because we're limited companies and we're investment, like it's buy to let, so it's going to be a bit more, but. Yeah, it seems that just from what we read, what we listen to, that is the trend's is trending downwards. But I don't think we're going to get to where we were.
I don't think we're ever seeing the ones.
Nah.
I think it will probably. I don't know.
What a time to be alive, then, though, man.
Yeah. I mean, I look
back and it's
just
like
at the other day at the if you go on the Bank of England, you can see the history.
Yeah.
At one point, it was like 0.5. or something was the base rate.
When you think about that period of life we were in.
Yeah, I know.
What a time.
But then it swings both ways. You would have personally think of how many people bought a house and your mortgage payments
really
were
afford
X
it.
amount, and now it's gone up to 5%.
Yeah.
I mean, if my personal house now went from 5, I think I locked in at like 5.2% or something for 2 years.
Yeah.
If that went to 10%, I probably wouldn't even be able to afford to live there.
Yeah. Well, you got to sell up.
I wouldn't be able to afford to live
you got
there.
to sell up.
Yeah. I'll be in my garage.
Yeah. It's not a bad garage, to be fair.
Nah. But I mean, I think interest rates coming down, I think, is good for property prices. I think naturally, that
Yeah.
coming down, I think will drive prices up. People will want to spend a bit more money.
Yeah.
Everyone's affordability is getting a little bit better. So I think naturally, hopefully, prices rise, and then investments and investors will be in for a little gain.
And I think it just gives the market confidence as well. I feel like when the rates keep going up, it's like, as investors, it's like, when's this going to stop? Do you know what I mean? Like, are we going to get to that? Like my mum, I think her rate was like 15% or something like that when I was like before, when I was a young kid. So like you do get nervous. It's like, when is it going to stop? But yeah, I think the position we're in at the moment, we're around the fours, the fives. I think this is where we're going to be for a bit. And as long as the deals stack up at this sort of rate, obviously add a few percent just for contingencies and stuff. But I think
in a good way, it's made, well, us personally, it's made us get a bit more creative with our
100%.
deals, because the margins have gotten a bit smaller.
Yeah.
So you're having to look at other ways
before we went on camera, we were talking about how standard buy-to-lets, like the sorry to interrupt, but the Devon deal that I did then, that wouldn't stack now.
Nah.
If you did that deal,
you'd probably still be able to pull some money out, but you'd just be breaking even.
That's more of a long term.
Monthly.
You put it in, you leave it, because. But the intention for that deal was put the money in, pull as much money as you can out of it.
Yeah.
But you pull a bit out maybe, but you might break even, as you say. But it's not a bad investment. It's still something that you're going to sit on, and in 10 years' time pull some money out, and you've got the rental income, and then you've got the capital appreciation. I don't think property is ever a bad investment unless you royally screw up. Like you've got to go really wrong, offer over the odds for the worst property on the worst street. But even then, if you zoom out long enough,
it's just how long you stay in it, isn't it? Really,
yeah.
Like you could buy at any. People always trying to time the market. You could buy when it's high, and next year it's probably going to dip a little bit, and it looks like you've lost money. But if you hold that for 5 years, I mean, it's going to be a different story.
Yeah.
So
they say the best time to buy a property was yesterday.
Yeah.
The second best time is today.
Well, it's like the stock market, isn't it?
You can't time it.
You can't time it, and I think they've actually analysed it. Like if you just whatever they cost, the dollar cost averaging, if you buy in per day or per week, you're always going to beat someone that is trying to time the dips.
100%.
So 100%. you're buying when it's up, when it's down.
That's what I do with my crypto. I put in
constantly
a little amount each month,
which simplifies things really, because it's stressful trying to think of the best time. I've had some friends or colleagues in the past, and they're waiting to get on. They got a lump of cash, and they're waiting to get on a property ladder, and they're saying, I'm waiting for this big crash, and they've been waiting for bloody years.
Yeah.
You know?
But if they actually put their money in slowly but surely
and then
every
they think
month,
it's going to crash more, and then they miss the crash, and then it's back up, and it's like if you bought that house 10 years ago, you'd have probably doubled your money now, but you're still waiting for the time to get in.
It's not that instant rush and hit of like, I've made a mad gain.
Yeah,
it's a slow gain, but it's a gain.
Yeah,
and that's what we're in it for, right?
That's it.
Cool. I think we're done, man.
Do we want to? So we can find us on socials.
Yeah, Instagram is our main channel.
Yeah.
We're going to start pushing LinkedIn. Well, I'm going to try and start pushing LinkedIn as well. And obviously our website, Instagram, jack.estates.
Yep.
LinkedIn, just search Jack Estates, will be on there. Website is jackestates.co.uk. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Alex. Thank you
See
for today.
Yeah, nice one.